All right, hello, and welcome to today's video. I'm just gonna straighten my phone camera here. It seems a little bit crooked. There we go. Okay, I think that's level, maybe. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's video, where we're gonna be talking about. I know the title is a quick reminder. So essentially, what I want to talk about today is bringing ourselves back to our center so that we can, maybe for the first time, maybe reconnecting for the 100 millionth time for us, to this idea that our lives are for ourselves ultimately. That allowing ourselves to step out of the cultural expectation of peak moments, of what purpose is supposed to look like, of what being on the right path is supposed to look like. And specifically, I want today to speak to the feeling like your career isn't what it's supposed to be, like you're doing the wrong thing because it's not getting public success reception in the terms of what normal people consider to be right. Like, you're not getting your 100 million followers on YouTube, you're not getting all the promotions at work, you're not getting the huge book deal or whatever it is. Like, you're pursuing what matters to you, you're pursuing what you think you should be doing or what you want to do, and then you're doubting yourself of whether you're doing the right thing or not because it's not successful in the terms of cultural success. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, doing something that you think you should be doing something that you feel is the right thing for you and all of these things, but hating every step of it. Literally feeling like you're just continually working to try to get to this place of success, and you're thinking you'll be happy when you get to that place of success, and that the reason you're unhappy is not because of what you're doing, not because the actual path you're on isn't something you're actually enjoying or isn't something you actually care about, but because you're feeling like, well, no, the reason I don't feel good and the reason I don't feel satisfied and the reason I don't feel successful is because I'm not successful. I don't have the big career. I didn't climb the ladder yet. I don't have all the money. I don't have whatever the societal expectation. I'm not there yet. And once I get there, then I'll feel good. Okay? And then the second thing I want to kind of like, because these things really tie together, is that like when we're on our healing path, when we're on our growth path, and like we're trying to heal our bodies, we're trying to heal our traumas, we're trying to heal our relationships, we're trying to self-actualize, grow in some way, and we're feeling like we have no idea what our next step should be, right? Like, we're feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling scared, we're feeling like, and especially when we're feeling paralyzed and like we can't take a step and we don't know what to do because we're so afraid of taking the wrong step, we're so afraid of doing the wrong thing, and so we're feeling all this conflict, we're feeling pulled in all these different directions, and we're feeling like we have no idea how to figure out what is the right way forward because we have all these options, we have all these expectations on us, we have other people telling us what they think we should do, we have people telling us that we're not good at it, or, we're not good, that what we're doing is wrong, and that we should be doing this other thing, and then we're doubting ourselves because we're not getting the immediate results, obviously, right? Like, we're not healing right now, we don't have good evidence for the fact that what we're doing is necessarily the right thing yet, and so we don't know how to justify our choices, and so we're just feeling like, oh my god, how do I decide what I'm supposed to be doing? How do I decide what step I'm supposed to be taking? And also, I wanted to kind of like say that this also fits for if you're doing something you think is your right path and you're being antagonized, right? So not only are you not getting the big celebratory public success you expect that you should get if you're on the right path, right? Because so many in the spiritual and the self-help and the self-love and the personal growth world now tell us that when you're on the right path and you're doing the right thing for you and you're doing your right thing, you're gonna have success, right? And what they mean by success is cultural success. You're going to be financially abundant, you're going to have lots of followers, you're going to climb the ladder, you're going to have this very traditional sense of like everybody likes it, everybody sees it, and you get recognized and validated in some way. You get celebrated in some way, you get awards, you get opportunities, you get money, you get whatever. And instead of that, you're like not even getting that. You're not only not getting that, but you're getting people telling you you're shitty at what you're doing. You're getting people saying you shouldn't bother with this. Like, you're not good at this. You're never going to be good at this. Why would you think that you should be able to do this? This isn't for you. This isn't even an important thing, right? Being told that the thing that you care about or the thing you want to do doesn't matter and it's stupid and no one's ever going to care. Why are you doing this? So when we're in either of these two situations and we're feeling like shit about ourselves, because that's really what I'm talking about here, right? When we're living our lives, we're doing our thing, and we're just trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out how to do something that means something to us. We're trying to figure out how to make money. We're trying to figure out how to support ourselves in this economy. We're trying to figure out how to heal our bodies. We're trying to figure out how to heal our relationships. We just want to feel better. We want to feel like we're doing something that matters to us. We want to feel like we're doing something that has an impact on the world, perhaps. We want to feel like we're expressing ourselves, and we just want to feel better, right? We want to feel better. We want to feel good. We want to feel like life can be good. And instead of that, we're feeling shitty. We're feeling stuck. We're feeling like we're not good enough. We're feeling like we don't have the skills to actually become the thing we want to become. We are feeling like we're trying to become the thing we want to become, and obviously due to the reception, we're just shit and we may as well just give up. Or we're feeling like this healing path is just too complicated. We don't know how to get there. It just hurts. Everything's wrong. We have no idea. There's a million steps, and all of them seem wrong, and all of them seem bad, or all of them seem like they could work, and how could we even decide what to do? And from that place, right, we're gonna feel terrible. We're gonna feel not good enough. We're gonna feel inadequate. We're gonna feel like we're failing. We're gonna feel like we're wrong and bad. We're going to feel shame about ourselves. We're going to feel fear that we're never going to figure it out. We're going to feel like we're trapped and we're never going to be able to get out. We're going to feel like we've been in this situation forever. We've never seen anything better. We're going to have that hopelessness and that helplessness and that spiral out of control. We're going to have the nervous system overreacting. We're going to feel like we're being abandoned and like no one's ever going to love us, and we're going to be alone forever. And so much trauma is going to come up when we're doing either of these two things, right? When we're trying to pursue our paths of something like finding a career or finding just a way of expressing ourselves that matters to us. And we're gonna have these feelings come up when we're on a journey of healing or transformation in any way, because both of these things are a journey that have never been taken before. So that's the first thing. Right? Humanity as a whole, generally speaking, tend to fear the unknown. And for very good reason. Because forever, all throughout human history, the unknown, generally speaking, killed us, hurt us, took something from us in some way, was threatening. So I want everyone to just take a second and realize that feeling of existential dread that we all have, that comes up for all of us no matter what's going on in our lives, that especially comes up when we're trying to figure out who and what we are and what we want to do, when we're trying to live up to expectation and we don't even realize that that's what we're trying to do, or when we're trying to heal, partially comes from the fact that no matter what, no matter how completely aligned with your highest growth path potential you could possibly be. No matter even how right you are about your next steps of healing and growth and change and transformation. The next step in front of you is always going to be a step into the unknown, right? It's always going to be a step into the unknown, which means there's always going to be a level of fear, a level of doubt, a level of the nervous system being unsure, because ultimately, at the end of the day, we can never really know what's next for us or what's going to happen when we take the next step or when we do the next thing until we do it. So no matter how confident we are in what we're doing, no matter how sure we are, no matter how aligned and all of our chakras are in a row and we've done all of our meditations and we've drank the green juice and we've done all the things, there's going to be a part of us that's afraid. There's going to be a part of us that's not sure. There's going to be a part of us that doubts and thinks we shouldn't go and has that, well, are you sure you're doing it? And the inner critic possibly that tells you, no, don't go, don't do this, this is stupid, you're not going to be good at it, you could hurt yourself, it's going to go wrong, all of these things. Or the external, okay, and that's the other thing too. We're always going to have people around us who get triggered by us doing something that we've never done before. Because again, remember that, right? In order to heal, in order to transform, in order to grow into what you're here to be, you are going to have to do something you've never done before. You are going to have to change something. It's going to be that over and over for the rest of your life. And us doing something different, us changing how we usually are, is going to trigger people around us. And they are going to say, no, stop that. Don't do that. Don't go there. Don't be different. For a lot of reasons for themselves, right? Because if you change, your relationship dynamic change, and that unsettles them. If you change, you prove that their stories about how they can't change are wrong, and then they have to consider that maybe they would have to change too, and all. We are always going to trigger ourselves and trigger other people when we're on our path of growth. So even if whatever you're about to do is going to be like the best thing for you, we have to remember that fear trigger is always going to be there. So if we can start to get used to the idea that there's always going to be that part of ourselves that doubts and fears and goes into shame and blame and maybe into all the scary stories of why this isn't going to work, and understand that there are going to be people around us that bat us down and tell us not to do it and tell us that they're afraid and tell us that we shouldn't do it and that we're wrong and that we're going to mess it up and that we're not good enough and that why would we think we should be able to do that, and all of these stories. This is going to happen. Okay? So first things first, when we're on our path of growth, when we're on our path of healing, we need to remember, and truly, like I say, like this is forever, for the rest of our lives here as human beings. Life is going to continue to change. We never arrive. We never get there, and then life is just life now, and we can fully predict it, and there's no change. We never get there. So long as we're alive, we're in a transition. There's going to be some aspect, some area of life where things are changing. So rather than continually looking for your stability in the end place, we need to start to cultivate a relationship with taking a step into the unknown. We need to start to embrace that this is a part of life. It's always going to be a part of life. It's always going to be there. And instead of it having to be this thing that we're shocked every time that it shows up, and that it throws us for a loop every time it shows up, and we're upset every time it shows up, we can say, okay, great, here it is again, the unknown, the void, the black, the I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to have to just take a step and see where it goes. And if we can start to, like I say, do these self-love tools, of showing up for yourself with compassion, showing up for the unknown with curiosity, knowing that you can support yourself through the unknown, that even if it goes wrong, even if it goes bad, even if it's painful, it's just a step. Okay, so this is point number 2. So number 1 is wherever we are, whatever we're doing, with our creative path, with our career, with our healing, with our expression, and we're feeling like we're not good enough, and we're feeling like we're bad, we're feeling like we're on the wrong path, we're on the wrong track, we don't know what our next steps on our healing path are, whatever it is, the first step is always just to recognize those fears are going to come up, because the next step is always the unknown. No matter what we're doing, no matter how sure we are about what we think the next step is, no matter how sure we are what we think is going to happen when we take that next step, it's still unknown. It hasn't been done yet. Not by you. It may have been done by other people. You may have a very, very good idea of what's going to happen, and maybe you're totally right. But at the end of the day, you still have to do it and find out for yourself through doing it. And you're not going to know until you go. So we make peace with that. That every step you've ever taken up into your life right now has been a step into the unknown. Everything you've ever done to this point has been a relationship with you weren't actually sure how it was going to go. You couldn't have known. And you did it. You survived. You survived every single one up till now. So you have an excellent track record. You so far have a 100% track record. Right? And we love ourselves, and we nourish ourselves, and we comfort ourselves, and we give ourselves lots of time and space and permission to not take the step if we don't want to, and make growth as safe as possible through those tools of curiosity for ourselves, compassion for ourselves, compassion for ourselves, compassion for ourselves. Showing up and saying, yeah, this is scary. Yeah, this is hard. I totally see you. It's okay. I'm here with you. I'm not going to abandon you. And then the second thing is understanding, no matter what you do next, no matter what your next step is, it is not the make or break step. Because in life, there really aren't make or break steps. No one step is the thing that's going to destroy your life or completely heal your life. Okay? So a lot of us are holding on to this idea, especially when we're on a healing path, but also when we're on a path of wanting to express, when we're wanting to express our creativity, when we want to become successful in our career, we want to become successful in our philanthropy, there we go, in our making a change on the planet, in our, like I say, our expression, whatever it is, we want to believe that we're going to find the thing, right? That takes us from sickness to health, from bad relationships to good relationships, from not knowing what we want to be doing to fully awake and aligned in our purpose, from stuck in our trauma to aligned and healed and in our true authenticity. From not successful in what we're doing to successful. There's going to be that moment where we get noticed, that moment where we get recognition, that moment where we blow up, we get the promotion. We're all looking for that thing that's going to be it, that changes our lives. And because we do that to ourselves, we're not realizing that we're then setting it up to believe that the flip side is also true. That there's a thing we could do that could totally mess everything up, that could destroy our body, that could destroy our relationships, that could make our trauma go deep and then we're just stuck in it forever, that could destroy our chances at success, that no one will ever look at us again, that can be the reason we're alone forever, we're destroyed forever, we're shit at this and we just shouldn't bother. The fatal error that destroys everything. And what I'm going to say is, literally, unless the thing you're about to do kills you, like literally physically ends your life, it's not it. we need to accept that life is always going to be a journey. There's never going to be a single step, a single thing that makes your life or that breaks your life. Yes, there are going to be things you do that are very important. There are going to be maybe opportunities you get that absolutely do change your life. There are going to be moments where things happen and you, whatever, blow up on the internet. Or there's this one thing you put into place and it does totally trigger a cascade of things that help you heal. But even in that, we have to recognize that in order for that moment to happen, there was so much preparation that had to come before it to make it so that moment, that you were available for that moment. And then afterwards, to maintain any success we might get from a big moment, there needed to have been, there will have needed to have been all this foundation built beforehand. And even after that big step, there are going to be moments of great failure, maybe public failure. There are going to be moments where it doesn't go great. We have more to learn. That next step we're about to take, we weren't ready for it and we crash a little. That's reality. Or, like I say, on your healing path, on your transformation path, on your growth path, there may be that grand revelation, that big aha moment, that healing session that really changes your life. But again, you got to remember, if you had just gone into that cold, like literally never having done any of the work that you had done beforehand, that session wouldn't have mattered. That healing wouldn't have done anything. And I think a lot of us have had this experience where we've had the big revelation, we've had the big moment, we've had the big whatever, and then we lose it because we didn't have the foundations. We didn't know what to do with the thing. It was too much, too fast. And so we had the big moment, and then life kind of went back to normal. Why? Because healing doesn't happen in a moment. Success doesn't happen in a moment. Transformation doesn't happen in a moment. It's incremental steps that lead to the capacity to have a big moment that we then have to be able to hold and integrate and continue to expand upon. So we have to have tools beforehand, taking all these steps beforehand, container to hold it, and then we have to have practices to integrate that for the future. So if we can start to recognize and take the pressure off of ourselves that whatever this next unknown step is, it's never, ever the make or break step. Because I think so many of us get so overwhelmed and get so afraid and stuck and traumatized, and then start looking for outside approval, outside answers. Are people validating me? Are people accepting me? Am I successful to what the people are saying? Or should I do what this doctor says? Should I do what this spiritual person said? Should I take this course? Should I do this thing? And we don't know what to do and we're getting all overwhelmed because we have this narrative in our head that there's a thing that we're going to do that's the right thing. And it's going to heal us, and it's going to change everything, and it's going to make our lives perfect. It's going to get us there. And then if that doesn't happen, we think we failed. We think we're doing something wrong. You're continuing on your career, and you're not blowing up, and you just start to think, I must suck at this. I'm not as famous or as popular as this person. I'm not as good as this. I'm not getting the deal. I'm not getting the promotion. This must not be right. Instead of thinking, which will lead me into the third thing. But right, it's this expectation. We all have an expectation of where we should be and what should be happening if we're doing the right thing. And I think for a lot of us, the reason we're in so much pain, thinking we suck, thinking we're on the wrong path, thinking we're not good at what we're doing, thinking we're not doing it right, thinking our healing path is the wrong thing, thinking we're failing, is not because we actually are. It's not because we're not gaining the information we need to be gaining. It's not because we're not good at what we do. It's because we have this very narrow expectation of this is the thing that's supposed to happen when I take the right step. And anything outside of this means I'm failing. Okay? And that's what feels bad. So these feelings that you're feeling, that you're doing the wrong thing and that you suck and you may as well just give up because it's not good enough, and you're not healing enough, and you're not successful enough, you shouldn't even bother with this because you suck. That feeling, usually, that terrible feeling, is not an actual sign that your thoughts are correct. If it hurts, it's a lie. What you're actually feeling is the feeling of, I'm having an expectation of myself, I'm having an expectation of what should happen, and I'm telling myself that I'm failing every single time that doesn't happen. And the reason I feel like shit is because I'm telling myself I'm failing. The reason I feel like shit is because I have set an expectation for what should be happening that isn't in alignment with reality. Which leads me to my third point. Our culture and our society have a very narrow view of what is good enough, what is success, what is the sign for you're doing it right. And most of the time, what culture says is good enough. What culture says means you're on the right path. Even what spirituality and self-help and self-improvement tell you are the signs for you're on the right track, are not true. Okay, so I'm going to take a pause here, and I'm going to validate and acknowledge that we live in a world where we all have to make money. Okay, we live in a world where all of us, of course, want to, on some level, have a job, have work that feels good to do, that we don't feel like we're trading our soul for work, for money. And especially if we're in the self-help, self-improvement, spirituality communities, we're often told, right, like turn your gift into that thing you offer the world. Monetize your passion. Monetize what you care about. Step into your passion, step into your power, step into your authenticity. And then that thing you have to offer the world is just going to be amazing, and you're going to love every minute of it, and you're going to make $1 million while you do it. And that may be true for some people. I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm not saying that that never happens. But I am saying that our culture does not value, generally speaking, what's of value. Right? Every artist who steps into their absolute authenticity in their art, who figures out what their favorite way of expressing their art is going to become world famous and a millionaire. It's just not going to happen. Most artists will be seen by their friends and family. And that's going to be it. Writers, same thing. People who are healers, people who work with other people, therapists, coaches, most of them will have a little community, will work with their friends and family, will be that person who interacts with the cashier, will be the cashier. And that will be what they do with their whole lives. They have a job and they bring their magic to it. Does this mean that they weren't stepping into their ultimate potential? Does this mean that they were failing? Does this mean that they suck? No. It's just a reflection of our culture isn't going to celebrate everyone who steps into their authenticity. Our culture is right now completely designed around productivity and keeping the monetary system going. If you don't fit into that, you're not going to be valued, generally speaking. Right? Like really, like think about the big self-help and self-improvement coaches. What are they teaching? So much of them are teaching abundant spirituality. They're teaching sexuality. They're teaching things that, and again, I'm not saying that these things don't have value. I'm not saying that these people are charlatans. I'm not saying that these people aren't teaching things that are valuable. What I'm saying is there's a very narrow message that gets popular. Right? Abundance is all in your head. And if you just think all the right things, you'll get rich. Pretty much the message of any spiritual teacher who's getting lots of fame right now. Or I will teach you how to manifest the perfect relationship. Or now we're all pop psychologying trauma. Because again, if you heal your trauma, it'll fix everything in your life. Right? Like we kind of have to be realistic with ourselves here and realize. And then at the same time, right? Like what are the actual big things that have like big success in our system? Celebrities, gossip, makeup, right? Like we need to kind of take the pressure off of ourselves that we're going to do this really authentic, true to us thing and it's going to make us $1 million. If we look at our actual society and we look at our culture and we look at the things that our society and our culture actually value, and we're telling ourselves that it's just because we're shitty that we're not blowing up, could it just be that, yeah, like our culture has a pretty narrow list of things that it likes? And if you don't fit into that, like really perfectly, if you don't have the right body, you don't have the right face, you don't have the right personality, you're not mostly teaching, I'll teach you to completely transcend everything and so that you never have to feel anything ever again, and everything is perfect and beautiful and you'll be happy if you just change your mindset, spirituality, or I'll teach you how to be spiritual or manifest your life partner if you just heal all your traumas and step into your authenticity. Right? Like we have to start to recognize that number one again, the things our culture values are very, very specific. And if you don't fit into that, you are not failing. There is not something wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're not on the right path. It doesn't mean that this isn't the right thing for you. It absolutely just means our culture celebrates a very limited view of a very limited range of things. And generally speaking, again, a lot of the people who find success in that thing that they genuinely loved or that they fell into and were good at get eaten up by the system. Maintaining that success, maintaining having to stay on top of being culturally relevant and constantly available and constantly changing with the trends and shifting with what because this is the other way that capitalism is set up right now. Anything that's popular can't stay popular because in order to keep the consumption train going, in order to keep the system going, people have to be continually consuming, right? Like we really have to start to understand this. People have to be in a constant state of consumption in order to keep our system functioning. So even if people strike success, they can't just hang out there. They can't just success. They have to be constantly evolving, constantly changing, constantly moving, constantly available, constantly putting out content. Because again, the only way to survive in this economy is to be relevant. is to be putting out something new, is to be always having something for people to consume. New, 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 new. You notice that? You notice how all of the people you follow on social media, how all of the self-help gurus, how all of everyone always has their new thing? Their new thing. Yeah, okay, I know I told you last time that thing was like the answer to all of your problems. Yeah, but not that anymore. This now. And then I had a crash. And now this is the answer. But don't worry. I have the new answer. Oh, you did my last program? Great, you need the upgrade. Because success isn't just success. You want to keep being a relevant author, you have to keep writing books. And another book, and another book, and another book. So can we take a step back and say, am I having success? Am I judging myself that I'm not successful because I'm not being celebrated by popular culture or even my community culture, right? Like my work culture, my whatever. We just have to sort of take a step back and say, okay, the thing that I'm chasing, the growth that I'm chasing, the success that I'm chasing, is that coming from me wanting to expand myself because I'm interested to see where I can go and what I can grow into and what I can step into? Because there's definitely that. Right? Of course, like with me, with my work here, I am continually growing and changing. This work hopefully evolves. It gets deeper. It gets wider. It gets more informed. It gets more intelligent. It gets deeper. Because I'm on a growth path. Okay? But my focus is not what's popular, what's blowing up right now, what are people liking. My focus is, how do I keep growing? How do I keep serving the people that are showing up here and the questions you're answering me and you're answering the questions you're answering and the questions you're asking and there's absolutely that we're going to keep growing and changing and evolving. But there's a big difference of doing it from I want to be popular, I want to be trending, I need to be what everyone wants me to be, versus doing what feels like the right step for me on my growth path. Okay? And then on our healing path, culture is never going to celebrate. Okay. This is also true with our careers and our expressions and when we're on our right path, we're gonna suck at things. And I feel like I don't know why no one ever talks about this or doesn't talk about it seriously, but please understand that when we're doing the absolute right thing, when we're fully and completely on our path of what we should be doing, we're gonna suck. People are gonna tell us you shouldn't do this, you're not naturally talented. Because the world again expects, because so much of the time we only ever see someone has been in training for 35 years. They get really masterful at what they're doing, and then we see them. So we have this cultural expectation that everyone who's doing the thing they should be doing is just amazing at it immediately. Like, amazing. Immediately. That is absolutely ridiculous and not at all reality. From Adventure Time, I think it's Jake, either Jake or Finn, says, the first step of becoming good at something is sucking at something. And I would say the first 100 steps of becoming good at something is sucking at something. You, when you're on your right path, are going to step into things. You're going to do things. You're going to pursue things that you are not good at right away, and that it's Jake. Okay, thanks, Sam. and that everyone around you tells you you shouldn't do this. You're not good at this. This is silly. This is ridiculous. Who's going to care about this? That is absolutely going to happen. Okay? Please understand this. You are not failing if you suck at whatever you're doing. You are not failing if you're not immediately, in the first 100 times you try, good at something. If you care, if it matters to you, you're on the right path. So, just because it's not public perception, famous, ever, doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. Just because it never makes you $1 million or even becomes something that you can live off of, doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Just because in the beginning, the first year or two, the first 3 years, the first 4 years, you suck at it, doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. If you have to write 5 books and you don't get a bite until the 10th, you were not on the wrong path. If you make 1 million paintings and you never sell one for your entire life, you were not on the wrong path. If you make YouTube videos and you get stuck at a subscription and then that's it for the rest of your life, it never grows, you're not on the wrong path. We need to start to understand this. When we are on the right path, we're going to suck. We're going to have to grow. And most importantly, we are going to have to start to recognize that so long as we're living for what other people tell us is good and bad, right and wrong, success and not success, we're always going to feel like shit. Because even if we get the big moment, even if we blow up, even if we make the $1 million, that will be a moment. And then your life will continue on, and now you have to stay relevant. And now you have to fight to keep that success. And it's not to say that that's bad or wrong or that you don't want to do that. But it's to say that if you're not doing it because something inside of you, if you're not doing it because it matters to you, the external world is going to constantly throw things at you that make you feel like you're doing the wrong thing, that make you feel inadequate, that make you feel not good enough, that make you feel like you're silly and stupid and you shouldn't be doing it. It's going to be this constant pelting of your self-esteem, because that is how the external world is set up. It is set up to be constantly changing what we value, constantly changing what's good enough, constantly changing what success is, constantly shifting everything, so that consumers will never stop consuming. We never want stagnancy. There can't be a good enough in our system. Can we please understand this? In our system, there cannot be a good enough. In our system, there cannot be a good enough. No one is good enough. Oprah's not good enough. Bill Gates isn't good enough. It doesn't matter who we look at. We want another thing from them. We find fault in the things that they've done. We're criticizing. We're judging. Some people think it's garbage. Why? Well, because we're all different. We all value different things. No, we're never going to have universal consensus that what we're doing is great. And in order to keep the economy going, nothing can ever be good enough. Nothing can ever be enough. Because if that happened, the economy would collapse. So when we're judging ourselves and saying, when I am good enough, there will be this consistency in my success, we are setting ourselves up to internalize the fault of the system. We are internalizing the fault of the system. The system says there can never be enough. Because if there was enough, the system would collapse. Do we get this? So if we're not doing what we're doing from an internal, I just want to see what's going to happen. This is what matters to me. I want to go on my growth path. I know I'm never going to be done, but I'm good enough. I'm good enough right here. I'm good enough right now. If I have to work a shitty job in order to make enough money so that in my spare time I can do my thing, because this is the other thing. I understand that we all want to believe that we can find this purpose and this career that like really matters to us and fulfills us and it's going to pay the bills. And for most of us, that's not a reality. Not because the thing we have to offer isn't valuable. Not because we're not good at what we do. Not because anything inherently lacking in us. It's just our system is set up this way. It doesn't value everything that's valuable, and it highly values things that aren't valuable. So some of us are just never going to have a career that matches our passion and it makes us all of our money. And that's not a failure. That's not a spiritual failure. That's not a failure on any level. Some of us are going to make enough money. We're going to make ends meet. And we're never going to have huge success, but it's going to be enough. And if we keep feeling like we're failing because it's just enough, no, you're not failing. We have to stop telling ourselves that we're failing if we're not huge success, the 1%. Okay? This is not a reflection of reality. Okay, and then when you're on your healing path, again, most people don't go on a healing path. Most people stay in their little box of safety where everyone else can predict it and it's in alignment with what culture is doing, and we just do what's normal and we don't go outside of it and we don't question the system too much and we just accept our problems and we identify with them a lot, and that's our lives now. So anyone who's trying something different, who's going a different way, who's taking chances and going into the unknown, is going to get criticized. We're going to get told we're on the wrong path. We're going to be antagonized. People are going to try to take us down and sabotage us, because that, like I said, triggers so much insecurity and fear and doubt in other people. So we're going to have to, again, on our healing path, on our growth path, we can't live from, I hope I do the next step right. I hope this is the thing. I hope this is success. And if it isn't, oh God, I failed. I did something wrong. I shouldn't have done that. So much of healing and growth and transformation is learning through failing. It's taking a step and having it not work out how you thought it was going to, and then learning from that. And it's falling on your face. And it's making things worse. And it's making a mess. And learning from it. Or, right, taking a step from where we are, and that step being pretty shitty. Like, some of us have to recognize that from where we are, there isn't a step that's going to be amazing. There isn't a step that's going to take us out of pain. It's every step forward that we're going to take is going to be kind of terrible, uncomfortable, not fun, hard. And it's the right step. That, like, the spirituality community and all these look for the path of least resistance. When we're on our right path, it's going to be easy and it's going to feel good. And it's not always going to feel good. It's not always going to feel easy. It's not always going to be immediate success. We'll know it's right because when we go inside, we'll say, okay, this is the step out of all the steps I have that seems the least terrible, and I'm going to learn from it. Sometimes the right step is just the one that seems the least terrible. And people don't talk about this enough. Like, everyone tells us that the healing path is just better to better to better to better. And sometimes better is just, I learned something from that. I took a step. I fell flat on my face. I got a big cut. But hey, I took it. I learned. Now I can take that step. And maybe that step I fall flat on my face. But we're going to take it. And we're going to see what happens. And we're going to learn from it. And everyone around us is going to be like, see, you suck. You have no idea what you're doing. Why are you doing this? And you're going to have to say, I don't know. I don't have any good evidence. Yeah, it kind of looks like I'm making it worse. That's going to happen. People are going to look at you and be like, why are you going off the beaten path? Look, what you're doing that's off the beaten path, you're making it worse. You're less emotionally stable. Your physical body is worse than it ever was before. Now you're more erratic in your relationships. And you're going to have to be like, yeah, I'm figuring it out. Because what I was doing wasn't working. It was safe, it was comfortable, it was familiar, it's what everyone else is doing, but it wasn't getting me where I wanted to go. So I'm willing to go out into the unknown and fall on my face and learn from all my mistakes. Because I know that eventually I'll get there. Eventually I'll figure it out. Or I'm going to die trying. I'm not going to just live in what I know and stay in the predictability. That's usually what the healing path looks like. And the last thing I kind of want to touch on is just when you're feeling insecure about your creations, your career, your whatever you're doing in life, and you're constantly feeling like you're not good enough. And no matter what you do, and no matter what you achieve, and no matter how great you become, you always feel like it's not enough. Like inside, you always feel like you're failing and you're not good enough, and it's just stress and stress and stress and stress and stress. I highly, highly recommend that you start to challenge and question if you're really doing what you're doing because you want to do it, or if what you're doing is what you've been indoctrinated you have to do in order to be good. Because so many of us don't even realize that the path that we're on isn't the path we want to be on. We literally think we're doing what we want to be doing. We literally think we're getting where we want to go. We're on our right path. This is the career I want. I really do want this career. I really do want this path. And so what I would say is, again, I want you to really get yourself to look at what would be the end goal success that you're looking for. How would you know you were good enough? So that's the first thing. When you're telling yourself constantly, I'm not good enough, this isn't the right path for me, should I even be doing this? Okay, well, first question is, what would actually be good enough? And it can't be vague. I'm popular. I'm famous. I made money. I got the promotion. What promotion? What is your job title? And what do you do every single day? You blew up on the internet. What does that mean? How many views? How many subscribers? And then the more important question is, what does your life look like then? What does your day-to-day of, I did it, I got there, I succeeded, I'm living the good enough life? What is that actual day-to-day life like? To sustain that success, to maintain that position. And I want you to really ask yourself, is that day-to-day life, after that moment of success, the day-to-day life that follows, and even the day-to-day life that leads up to that, who and what you have to be and do in order to create and sustain that life, is that a life that's going to make you happy? If you were to be plopped down in that life post-success, and now you're just doing the day-to-day, is that what you want? Is that a life that you are excited about? Because if it is, then we should be able to say, okay, good. The work is just now. How do you learn to validate yourself? How do you learn to support yourself and love yourself? Right here, right now. So that your journey towards that success stops being so focused on getting to that thing and starts being really focused on this life you're living right now. Okay? So this is the ultimate what I want to bring you to. No matter what. The reality is, your life is right now. First thing. Second thing, it does not matter what you end up succeeding at. The impact you have on the planet, the art you create, the career you step into, the success you step into, the healing, the transformation, the relationships, all of that stuff. Eventually, no matter how great it is, it will be forgotten. Eventually, no matter what you do, it's going to go away. You're going to pass away. People are going to forget. It's going to become irrelevant at some point. So if it didn't fulfill something in you, if you weren't doing it, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it wouldn't have mattered to you if the world ever figured out anything about it. You were doing it because every single day, the reason you were really doing it, the reason you were showing up, is because it's what you wanted to do. It's what you were curious about. It's what you were passionate about. It's what you cared about. It's the only thing you knew to do from this moment forward. If you weren't doing it because of that, you're suffering for no reason. Because this is your life. When we are living for what other people are saying about our lives, we're throwing our lives away. Because what other people say about our lives is a moment. What other people think about our lives is a moment. How other people judge our lives is a moment. What we have to go through and experience every day as we pursue our career, as we pursue our healing, as we pursue our transformation, that's our life. That's the sum total of our lives. Because again, like I said, the moment of transformation, and even the life after the moment of transformation. The moment of transformation is just a moment. Most of your life is lived leading up to the moment of transformation, integrating the transformation, moving to the next moment of transformation. If we're living for those big Oscar moments, we're going to miss most of our lives. People who have massive success are usually the least happy because they are living their lives for these moments of external approval. And it drains your soul. Like, I don't know how else to say it. When we're living for that moment of external approval or transformation, it absolutely drains our souls. Because again, our culture teaches us that everything is out there. All of the answers are out there. All of our knowing if we're good or bad is out there. If we're right or wrong, if we're on purpose or whatever, all the answers are out there. Are you making money? Are people seeing you? Are you having success by the system? Are you transforming? Can you look at something that you're doing and point to it and be like, see, this is good? And have other people say, yeah, it is. Are we being validated by culture? And we lose our entire lives to that. So again, what if you started to live your life by every day checking in and saying, is this the path I want to be walking today? Right? And sometimes, again, the thing we want to pursue, the thing that's totally right for us, the thing that's absolutely our right path, is just going to be a slog some days. Like, I don't show up to my work every single day and think, this is the most exciting, amazing thing I could be doing today. Some days it's just like, hey, more writing. And I'm doing it because it's like, this is hard and this is a challenge, and even if no one reads it, and even if no one cares, and even if it never gets popular, I need to say it. I need to become the person who was strong enough to write the thing, to make the program, to do the video. Everything I do comes from, ultimately, this is who I want to become. I want to become the person who can do this. I want to become the person who did this. How it's received, and I mean, it's not to say like, I don't care how it's received. Of course I care, right? I care what you guys think. I want to know that I'm supporting you. I take your feedback into consideration because that's a part of it. But it's not for approval. It's for my growth and on my healing path. Again, I still get judged and criticized and told I have an eating disorder and I should need to go into treatment, right? Like, I get it. People are going to judge me. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm doing what I'm doing for myself. I don't claim that I'm perfect. I don't claim I have all the answers. All I know is I'm getting better every year, and I'm going to keep pursuing what I think is right. And most people aren't going to understand it, and that's okay. That's it. I'm living for, I'm going to take my next step, and I'm going to see what happens, and I'm going to learn from it. Because this is my life at the end of the day. If I fuck it up, it's just me. But I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to eventually, right, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to figure out. And so again, if what you're pursuing and what you're chasing, if you actually got there, I want you to really consider what that day-to-day life would look like, and do you actually want that? And if not, that's when we start to say, okay, maybe I don't actually want this. Maybe this is cultural, familial expectation, and not actually my intuition leading and guiding me to something that I want. And if you're failing at something by your standards right now, and you were to give yourself permission to actually quit, you say, fine, okay, I'm failing, I suck at this, maybe I shouldn't do it, just throw it out. Get honest with yourself about how you actually feel about that. Would you feel relieved? Or would you feel like, oh, but then I'd always be curious about what could have happened. I'd regret giving that up. I was being rejected. I was being told I was shitty at it. I wasn't getting the reception that I wanted. But if you got to the end of your life, are you going to feel good that you quit? Like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't push that anymore because people weren't getting it. Like, is that going to feel right to you? And I want you to really consider that. Would you regret giving up the path because people weren't reacting the way that you thought that they needed to, or the way that culture told you they should if you're doing the right thing? Can we start to accept that our system is not set up so that everyone who's doing their right, perfect thing is going to have financial success or cultural success? And that is not a failure on your behalf. And I wish it was that everyone could just do what they were good at and what they cared about and make enough money. That would be amazing. I wish that was the world we lived in, but it isn't the world we live in. So can you pursue what matters to you and understand that sometimes that's going to take a back burner to just surviving in this system? And that's not a failure on your part. And you're allowed to be upset about that. And we're allowed to want a different system. And this system is shitty. It doesn't support most people. It's hard. And we have to validate that and realize that. Like so many of us, we are working all the time and striving all the time. And we're being told now by the wellness culture, we shouldn't be stressed and we shouldn't hustle and we shouldn't. And I agree with that. Like where we can stop overproducing and over-consuming, we should. But I mean, a lot of us have to in order to survive in the system. And we just got to say, okay, right? Some of the stuff I do have to do and I don't want to do it and it sucks. And then we just love ourselves. Compassion and curiosity. And then with the healing path, keep returning to just what's the most reasonable next step. Nothing is going to be the make or break moment. If everything is just going to be something you can learn from, if we take the pressure off, that there's going to be a thing that heals you, we also take the pressure off that there's going to be a thing that destroys you. Okay? It's just steps. And it has to come from just, okay, what am I deciding to do? And sometimes we're just going to say, I have all these options, none of them seem right or wrong, or I'm just going to make a decision. And if I'm wrong, okay, I'll learn from it. And then I can change my mind and I can do something else. Because that's going to happen. We're going to make choices and they're not going to go how we thought they were going to go. And then we're going to backtrack and do something else. And that's okay. Please understand that. Understand that when you're on the right path, sometimes you're going to suck at what you're doing. People aren't going to think it's great. When I first started blogging, people were like, oh, your blog is just about food. That's silly. Right? Like I was written off all the time. I still get written off. If anyone has been around here for a while, you'll notice none of my channels have grown in the last several years. Should I quit? Or is that not the reason I'm doing this? Right? We really have to start to return to, okay, no, the actual point of all of this is my own life. This is about my growth. This is about my expansion. This is about me just doing what's available to me right now. I'm not going to do what everyone else wants me to do. I'm not going to do the normal path. I'm going to take my step and I'm going to see what happens. I'm just going to learn from it. And I'm going to continue to build on these tools of showing up for myself with love and compassion where other people can't. I'm going to continue to have curiosity for my path where everyone else has fear for my path. I'm going to continue to work towards things that matter to me. And I'm going to continue to slowly allow myself to let go of the things that don't actually matter to me. And we do all that nervous system work and like all my other videos and everything that I do to support that. Right? That process is not easy. I know I just said it like a bunch of like, and then we just do this. And obviously that is not the reality of how it actually is. But again, if we can start to orient our mindset for overall, life is about your growth. What are you curious about your capacity to become? What do you want to express and grow into? What do you want to try? That has to start to be where you live from. Like when I started living from that moment, that place, that's when my life started to get on a cool path. And it was really hard, and people still, like I said, don't get it. People still criticize me. People still tell me I'm not good enough. I don't have cultural success. Okay? But I'm succeeding because I'm living a life that matters to me. If I die tomorrow, I don't have a regret. Simply because I know that I've taken every risk that I wanted to take. I never let anyone tell me I shouldn't do something that I really wanted to do. And I've been really good at quitting all the things that I was doing that weren't right for me, that I could quit, that were reasonable for me to quit, right? Because again, sometimes we can't quit that stuff. Sometimes we have to work the job we don't love because we need the money. Sometimes we have to do some things we don't want to do because our system is set up that way. And we just say, okay, this is the choice that I'm making, because the alternative is I don't have money. And I'd rather do the shitty job and have the money than not do the shitty job and not have the money. And then we just say, that's my empowerment for the day. I made that choice. We have to get real about how life actually is. So yeah, sometimes. And then like I say, right, we can bring purpose to everything we're doing, that we are at this point, this is what we're doing. Maybe our job isn't our passion, but how can we show up and make it purposeful? How can we live each one of our days like it matters, because it's a day in our life? We can show up and say, okay, whatever by cultural standards, it doesn't matter. That's not why I'm living. Because like for a long time too, I worked jobs that were receptionist jobs. They weren't my passion. They weren't what I wanted to be doing with my life. But I showed up and I said, okay, this is my life right now. So how do I want to show up to this? Who do I want to be in this job until I can move to a different job? I'm not saying that I'm going to be my whole perfect expressed self in this receptionist job, but I'm going to be as big as I can be. I'm going to learn as much as I can learn. I'm going to show up as much as I can show up until I can't anymore. Until I change. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, the point is, don't let culture tell you what is good and bad. Don't let culture tell you what is success and not success. Don't let culture tell you what is right for you and wrong for you. Because so much of the time, culture is going to say, don't take the risk when the risk is absolutely the right thing for you. Culture is going to say, don't do that thing because you're not good at it when it's exactly the thing you should be doing. Culture is going to say, we don't really care about that, and it's absolutely your right path. Culture does not reflect what is of value and what is good. Not always. Most of the time it doesn't. Don't let the spirituality people convince you otherwise. If you're doing the right thing and you're not getting huge success, that doesn't mean you're not doing the right thing. It means culture just doesn't value that thing that you're doing. Or the algorithm didn't do it right that day. Like, there are so many things that aren't you're doing something shitty or you're doing something wrong. Do you care? That is the takeaway message. Do you care? Does it matter to you? That is why you live your life. Are you curious? Do you want to know who you will become if you keep going? Does it matter to you? Will you regret letting this go? Will you regret chasing this your whole life? Really ask yourself, is this the day-to-day I want to be living? if I got success in this thing? Would I want that life? Does this matter to me? Even if I never get success, would I regret not having done it because of who I would have become if I had? You only get one shot at being you. I don't care if you believe in reincarnation. This is never going to happen again. As far as we know. We may as well live like that. So what matters to you? And how can you fit that into the reality you're living in? Be honest about your reality and make your life matter to you. And on your next healing, growth, expansion step, understand that people aren't going to get it. They're not going to support you always. They're going to be triggered and fearful by what you're doing. You're going to trigger yourself. And you just have to ask yourself, am I curious? Do I need to know what's going to happen if I take this step? Of all my steps, what's the least shitty? Or just remind yourself, no step is make or break. I'm willing to learn from whatever I'm about to do. That's it. If we just move from that, we take all that pressure off and just say, I'm going to take my next step. It's shitty, but I'll learn from it. And then I'll take my next step from there. And I don't even need to know what the step after that is going to be. Just be willing to show up. Okay? So this quick reminder turned into one of my longest videos, of course. So I hope that was helpful. What matters to you? That is the only question you need to be asking yourself. What matters to you? Including, does it just matter to you that you're going to make the money? So that you have food on the table? Okay. Then you're doing it right. What matters to you? That's how we determine what we're going to do. If we're on the right path. If we're taking the next right step. Culture doesn't get to decide for you. Your family doesn't get to decide for you. No one else gets to decide for you. You get to decide for yourself what matters to you, what aligns with what you value, what aligns with the life, the day-to-day life you want to be living. That's what's important. That's what matters. Pursue that stuff. Little by little. It doesn't matter if anyone else ever gives you what you think you need to be successful. And again, really challenge your stories of what success is. If what you're doing is enough, it's enough. It may not be as big as someone else, but that doesn't mean it's not good enough. Okay? Whatever impact you're having, that's amazing. Celebrate what you do have. Celebrate what you are doing. Celebrate every step you take because it's a step and that's amazing and you're doing it. That's reality. Okay? Okay. I love you all. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week. And until then, you are enough. The system says we can never be enough, but that's a lie. You're enough right now. You're worthy of love right now. You're good enough right now. So from that place, what matters to you? What do you want to do from knowing you're already good enough? Okay? Okay. Have a good day, night, week, whatever. I'll see you next time.